Have we just found the modern day Matrix with the new Apple TV series directed by Ben Stiller called Severance? With its deeper meanings, hidden themes, philosophy, mind-effery, and bizarre presentation, let's talk about Severance being the modern day Matrix. What's going on, Matrix fans? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, the Viking. Make sure you give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for a brand new video every single day. Apple TV is a streaming service that barely anybody watches, but it has maybe the best content available. It really, really does. And the new show Severance, directed by Ben Stiller, starring Adam Scott, Christopher Walken, John Turturro, it really is a fascinating series. I'm a huge Ben Stiller fan, from his comedic side, but also his dramatic performance side and directing side. He has directed some very interesting movies throughout the years. He's made arguably one of the greatest comedy movies of all time in Zoolander, and one of the most underappreciated movies of all time, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, is a film that I love so much. In the last few years, he's kind of rebuilt his career doing more dramatic work. Stiller was kind of pushed into doing Zoolander 2. For years, fans wanted a sequel to the great comedy. He made it. It didn't turn out well. It failed miserably at the box office, so he tried to rebuild himself. And he said recently in interviews he's glad that Zoolander 2 happened because it pushed him in this direction in work that he always wanted to do. He directed the series Escape at Dannemora, which is a fascinating story about these two prisoners that escape that prison. And now he is back with Severance, the new Apple TV series starring Adam Scott. This series is fascinating. It's an interesting original concept. So far, 3 episodes have aired, and I love it so much. This is kind of my review and discussion about the series, and hopefully I get to convince some other people to check it out, because I do think it's on the line of The Matrix in terms of just the deeper kind of meaning to it all, the symbolism, the philosophy. And that's very interesting to me. And if you're a fan of The Matrix, I think you're going to love this series so much. Of course, it doesn't have the mind-blowing action or anything like that the original trilogy had, or the technology. It's a simple show in terms of how it's made, but it's very thought-provoking. It makes you think about yourself and your own circumstances in life big time. If you watch the series, or you plan to, you will see that Ben Stiller has a very unique directing style. He uses everything in frame to convey whatever he's trying to convey. Now, sometimes you won't know what that is because of how complicated and thought-provoking this story is, but it reminds me of the Matrix franchise, because when that came out in 1999 and then 2003 and then the Matrix Resurrections, many people had different theories and thoughts about what it means, what it stands for. And I think if you watch Severance, you will have the same thought. You will have several different theories going on. Now, I don't know how this show ends. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what the big reveal is, but it's interesting. It's very unique. And I hope this runs on for multiple seasons, but I also hope it keeps that mystery to it as well, just like how The Matrix still has that mystery to it, because the Wachowskis have never really said what it's really about. They haven't gone through every single movie, scene. There's so much to still gather after all these years. Now, if you didn't know anything about this series, the story follows Maher, played by Adam Scott, who leads a team of office workers whose memories have been surgically divided between their work and personal lives. When a mysterious colleague appears outside of work, it begins a journey to discover the truth about their jobs. So basically, the people who work at this company have gone through a procedure where their memories are split. So once they show up at work, they enter this elevator, there's a chip in the back of their head that activates and makes them forget about everything they know about themselves and their personal lives. So they go into work, they have colleagues, they have people they work with, they have their work life, but they do not remember anything about themselves. At the end of the day, when their shift ends, they get into the elevator, their chip activates again, they leave work, and they don't remember anything about their workday at all. They don't know what they do, who they work with, they go home, they eat dinner, they go to bed. That's what the story is about. Your personality, your life is split due to this procedure. Very unique, very, very interesting. Now, Mark is a character who is depressed and he has lost his wife. So he undergoes this procedure so he can forget about all of his pain for 8 hours in the day. But while watching the show and you see the innie version of Mark, which is what they refer to them in the show, the innie is the version of you that goes to work, the outie is the version of you that stays at home. That version of him, you can see a sadness in his eyes. You can see him questioning things because in his workplace, one of his colleagues has left. And this has big emotional weight for him. So there's so much layers to this actual show after those 3 episodes. It's hard to know what exactly it all means. But in terms of some symbolism to the Matrix, the opening scene is of a woman waking up on a table, very much how Neo did it in the original movie. Also the character of Mark is being fed these cookies by his boss, who doesn't seem to be Severance. She is aware of her work self and her personal life as well. And also, the opening kind of credits for this show, there's so many hints to what's going on and symbolism. If you remember, in The Matrix, Agent Smith, when he's taking over another body, this kind of tar blackness takes over first. We get to see that in this series as well, in the opening credits and in one of the episodes. So there is some parallels right now to The Matrix, and I'm very intrigued to see if there's more as the episodes go on. But we have this article from ScreenRant.com, which goes into minor spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show, go check out the show, come back to this video and let me know your thoughts. Or if you just don't care about spoilers and you're going to watch the show anyway, then by all means keep listening. How the world of Severance works and why it is so terrifying is one of the reasons why the show has already hooked viewers. The newest Apple TV show combines elements of sci-fi horror and even a few bits of comedy into a story that urges viewers to look for clues in every episode. In addition to Parks and Recreation's Adam Scott, the cast of Severance also includes names such as Patricia Arquette, John Turturro, and Christopher Walken. Severance is another step by Apple TV into the strategy of developing exclusive productions for its streaming platform. After series such as The Morning Show and Ted Lasso proved that the company will invest heavily into original content, it is time for the Ben Stiller produced series to leave its mark on the world of streaming. As of now, it seems like Severance will be able to accomplish such a task. The minimalist late 90s aesthetic of the office buildings depicted in Severance hide a futuristic technology that resembles that of Black Mirror's scariest moments. While the show doesn't make it clear what Lumen Industries truly does, whatever is going on in the hallways of that massive building is secret enough that a memory-splitting process had to be created. As a new employee joins the staff of Lumen Industries, viewers are getting the opportunity to understand more about Severance deepening mysteries. Severance, how the employees' memories are split. The daunting process of severance that Mark and his colleagues were subjected to has more than just one step. Initially, the employees who decide to take the job must undergo a surgical procedure in which some sort of device is introduced inside their brains. The science behind the small device is not exactly explained, but it is possible to infer that it somehow forks neutral reception into 2 paths. One for everything relates to one's personal life, and another for everything related to one's work life. Given the seriousness of the process, Lumen Industries employees must record a video before undergoing the surgery, in which they ensure that they are in agreement with the terms and assure their personal selves that they have agreed to join the company. The process of severance, however, does not end on the operating table. It is when Lumen Industries employees take the elevator down into the office building that Severance memory switch really happens. Some sort of apparatus behind the elevator ensures that the chip is activated and that one of the personalities takes over, and that happens each time the employees enter or leave work. As a result, the entrance and exit of Lumen Industries employees can only happen in a staggered way, so they all can't leave at once. It's one by one, 15 minutes apart in the show they have explained. How much freedom do Severance's employees really have? The fact that the severance process is voluntary, and that employees wishing to work at Lumen Industries must still in video that they are authorizing the procedure giving a false impression of freedom. The employees can choose whether or not to join the company. Yes, that's true. But getting out of there is a lot more complicated. Although Severance's characters can hand in resignation letters, they are never accepted. Also, the work self cannot send any kind of message to the outside self. Helly even tried to write a note to herself, but the mysterious elevator quickly detected it and called security. This barrier in the communication between the two versions of the person makes absolutely everything that happens inside Lumen Industries a secret to the outside world. Any complaint against any type of malpractice by the company is therefore impossible to be made. It's also frightening to think that for the work self, leaving the company would mean essentially a type of death. Discussions about whether the two separate consciousnesses make for two different people are complex and trace back to the oldest rationalist philosophers. Either way, the possibility of ceasing to exist causes the employees to be trapped inside Lumen Industries' small departments. Why people choose to undergo the severance process? It is odd that some would agree to participate in a process as frightening as that of severance, but some characters may have a good enough reason. Mark Scout, whose life outside of Lumen Industries is the only one the show has followed so far, has recently lost his wife and is currently suffering from depression. The character has made it clear that disconnecting from the real world for 8 hours a day helps in his struggle, thus explaining why he joined Lumen Industries. As for the other characters, it is still unclear the reasons that made them accept having their memories split in a process that challenges some of the best sci-fi movies. It is plausible that, like Mark, they are also going through a difficult time in their personal lives and have sought some way to avoid their struggles. Another possibility, still a little discussed by the show, is that Lumen Industries might pay a salary much higher than any other company in that area. While no one really knows what Lumen Industry does, the company appears to be one of the most powerful and recognizable in the world of Severance. Why Severance is terrifying. The above-mentioned points show just how frightening the truth behind Lumen Industries is, although the entire premise of the series is based on a futuristic technology that you could only find in a Christopher Nolan movie. The discussions that Severance proposes easily relates to those of the contemporary world, how truly free a person is in the face of oppression work system, the loss of individuality in exchange for production, and how personal information is being handled by large companies are some of the elements common to both Severance and the real world. Even though much has yet to be revealed about how Severance works, it is already possible to notice just how terrifying the show's premise is. The fact that Petey is still suffering from the consequences of the Severance process even after he escaped from Lumen Industries reveals that Severance's characters have signed up for something way more dangerous than they realise. Whether they will be able to manage to break free, like Petey, and for how long they can escape Lumen Industries is a question that the remaining episodes of Severance will answer. So already you can see after 3 episodes how deeply layered this is, not just with story but also with the characters and what is actually going on. And when I say this could be the new Matrix, obviously it won't have the same cultural cinematic impact as the Matrix did in 1999 and still does, but it could show us how our data, how our personal lives, how our work lives are being depicted and how maybe they're taking over our lives, and maybe it will make you second guess what you're doing, because the Matrix movies for the next 20 years predicted technology and our relationship to it. And Matrix Resurrections was a mirror up to that, to show us even more, look at what you have become and look at where you are. Are you happy? And Severance is a very interesting show where it shows you how you live 2 separate lives, your work life and your personal life, and which one is more important and what makes you more happy? Of course, you need to work to live, to pay bills and stuff like that. But how much of that actually takes over your life? And I think there's more to the actual show than that as well, which is not being revealed yet. We're only in episode 3. I think altogether there's going to be 8 or 9 episodes. So there's so much more to explore. But I'm already seeing parallels to the Matrix movies. The cookie, the kind of tar, black goo stuff as well. Helly waking up on top of a table, like we got to see Neo doing the same thing on his desk. So there is parallels there, and also the characters in the actual show, when they're working, they don't know what they're working on. All they're told is these are numbers that's on your screen, like a code, come on, and to get rid of the scary numbers and put them into the box. That's what they're told. That's all they're told about their job. So I am seeing parallels to the Matrix, and I'm sure there is more to come. This is a very original idea. It's an interesting concept. It's one to definitely sit down and get your head into it and think about it. You will have theories, just like people did back in 1999 watching the Matrix for the first time. They had theories, discussions, their own perspective of it, what it meant to them. And I think Severance will be along the same lines. It's a pity this show won't be seen by many people. If it was on Netflix, it would probably gain more momentum. But Apple TV is a new-ish streaming service. It doesn't have that many subscribers yet, but I hope people find this show. I hope it sits with people and makes them think, just like it's made me think. And if you guys like this review and kind of breakdown of the first 3 episodes, and you like this series, then I will continue week to week to break down each episode and the characters and the teams and the philosophical kind of aspects to it, because there's a lot which I can get into even more. I also think there's a very interesting discussion about, can you escape your pain? We use painkillers, people use alcohol, people use sex, people use whatever to escape whatever pain they're going through, but it never really does the trick. And Mark, the character that Adam Scott plays, he thinks that this procedure can heal him of his pain, or just put a blanket over his pain in terms of his wife and her death, and also him being depressed. But as you can see, if you watch Mark very, very closely when he is in work mode, you can see a sadness behind his eyes, and that's great acting from Adam Scott. And also John Turturro's character, we don't know anything about him, but I can also see a sadness in his eyes as well. This kind of sense of belonging, this sense of, I did something wrong, I want to make up for it, I kind of just want everything to be okay, I want to be good. I think there's a sadness behind him as well. I think every single character that has taken up this severance procedure, and I think we will be surprised to see these characters in those scenarios, but then we'll understand why they wanted to do this procedure. And Mark's character is very interesting, played by Adam Scott, because he lives alone. Of course he's depressed, but his boss, played by Patricia Arquette, who was brilliant in the show as well, she lives right beside him, and she doesn't have the procedure done. She knows what she's doing at work, and she knows what she's doing in her personal life. And it looks like that she's keeping tabs on Adam Scott's character. She is watching him from her window. She is making the cookies, bringing them over to his house. She is going into his house when he's not there. And then when Mark goes to work, the chip activates. He's in work mode. He doesn't remember her then. And now he only sees his boss, but not his neighbour. But then when he goes home, he only sees his neighbour, not his boss. And also, if you notice where Mark's character lives, he lives on a street where nobody else lives, only him and his neighbour, who is his boss. So, is he being controlled in his personal life as well? I very, very much think so. And here's a very interesting connection to the Matrix Resurrections. Thomas Anderson is depressed. He is prescribed the blue pill by the analyst in hope that it heals his depression, but actually it makes him worse. And this is exactly what the analyst wants, because he wants to feed off Neo's negative energy for this new version of the Matrix. If we look at Severance, Mark is a character who's depressed, and he thinks the procedure of Severance will heal him from his depression or put a blanket over it. But actually, if we look at his character in his workplace, there's a sadness behind his eyes. He is not fully healed. The character of Petey actually escapes Lumen Industries, but him being away from the company actually makes him worse. Very much like how the blue pill made Neo worse and worse, and he could not use his powers anymore. Petey, away from Lumen Industries, cannot fully function, and he dies. Inside Lumen Industries, if you look at the computers, they are blue, and if you look at the background to the computers, it is green. There's so much symbolism and connection to the Matrix, I don't care. I am seeing it in every single episode. But guys, what do you think? This is my review discussion of Severance Episode 1 to Episode 3. If you liked this breakdown, this discussion, I will do it for next week's episode, Episode 4. Go watch the show, let me know your thoughts. If you are watching it, get into the comments, let me know your thoughts as well. Thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and guys, I will see you in next week's video for Severance Episode 4, if that's what you want. But if not, subscribe, brand new video tomorrow. Guys, see you then.